There's a mod where you can damage balloons by clicking them. Each click is 1 damage, and you can spend money to upgrade the clicker just like any other tower. But winning this way would be too easy, so I'm going to try to program my computer to click the balloons for me. There are just a few problems. Is the clicker strong enough to beat a game on its own? How will my computer know where to click? And how will it upgrade the clicker? The first problem was the easiest to tackle. I booted up a game on Resort and tried to win with me using the clicker mod. Right away, I noticed you could miss the balloons by a little bit and still damage them, which will be nice. But what I am worried about is the different balloon speeds. We might have to tell my computer to click different spots based on if we're facing a fast pink balloon or a slow red one. But I made my way through the game, learning the upgrades and beating the round 80 ZOMG. Now, it was time to teach my computer where to click. And because we'll be referring to my computer so much, I'm going to call it Lenny for the rest of the video. My first thought was to code in what color each balloon is. Then, Lenny would just scan the screen for those colors and click on the one furthest along the track. And we could also program in how fast each color is, solving that problem too. This kind of worked in that Lenny could recognize the balloons and occasionally click them, but it took him so long to scan the entire screen, and when there were tons of balloons, it would kind of break things. Plus, if a balloon went under the dust clouds on Resort, it would change their RGB values and Lenny wouldn't recognize them. So we had to pivot. Instead of teaching Lenny what the balloons look like and have him scan the entire screen 24/7, what if we just taught him what the track looks like, and if he can't find the track, that means there's a balloon on it. So I took screenshots of the map, splitting it into 32 segments. Then, to save time on Lenny searching the map for these, I told him exactly where each segment will be, so he only has to search like 1/100th of the map each time. And if he can't find that segment, click the center of it and hopefully there'll be a balloon there. This worked much better, and we could even have the mouse follow the track perfectly, as I just had Lenny loop through the screenshots and move the mouse to each one. We were finally getting somewhere, but then everything broke. Update 45 came out to BTD6 and the clicker mod stopped working. You couldn't access its upgrades, it would only pull up the hotkey menu. Defeated, I made some other videos, but I kept coming back hoping that an update would come out for it. But then I saw that the Bloons TD made the artwork for this mod, so I messaged him to see if he knew if it was getting fixed. He let Graham Cracker know, and in under 12 hours of my first message, Graham gave me an updated version. What a legend. But now we're back on track. Lenny knows the map and where to click, and it's time to test him out and see how he does. Right off the bat, it was promising. He could clearly track the balloons, but there were 2 issues. The first was that he'd go through the screenshots too fast and get ahead of the balloons. He checks them sequentially, starting at the front of the track, and goes through the map in the same way that a balloon would. If he can't find the track, then he clicks there, and if he can see the track, he moves on, leaving the mouse in the last place where a balloon was spotted. In theory, this should work, but it brings us to the second problem, where once again the dust clouds got the best of us. When they'd pass over the track, it would sometimes mess up his search and trigger a false positive for where the balloons are. So the mouse would go to a useless spot and stay there for quite some time. And because Lenny would get so far ahead of the balloons, it made this issue much worse. I tried some things like prioritizing the smallest loop and searching the map backwards until Lenny finds a balloon. Then it would go back to searching forwards as it would prioritize the frontmost balloon, but the clouds kept getting us. And this is where I came to a crossroads. We try to hone in the exact search requirements to account for the different ways the track can look, or do we make a better resort? One without the clouds. I went with the latter, even though it meant getting all new screenshots, telling Lenny where they are, and finding the center of each one. But I gotta make it much prettier than the original resort. The real reason why it looks like this is so the screenshots are easier to tell apart, but it's kind of beautiful. Instantly, we saw a massive improvement in Lenny's performance. He didn't really misclick anymore, but he would still get ahead of the balloons. That's okay though, because I had him move back to the small loop if he couldn't find any balloons for a while. This actually worked pretty well, but what was infuriating was he was much better against greens and up than he was against reds and blues. I assume it's because their movement speed lines up better with his clicks and searches, but I didn't want to mess with it much because after the early game, you don't see many reds and blues. So thinking Lenny was good enough, I taught him how to press play each round and how to use the shop to upgrade his clicker. These were just hard coded as they should always be the same, and with that we let Lenny play Resort 2.0 on hard mode. He clicked the first few balloons no problem, but once his search got ahead, he defaulted to his safe space right above the green square. It took a little bit, but after a few seconds he went right back to tracking them no problem. He popped almost the entire round, but just couldn't find the final blue and red balloon in time before they leaked. So in the first round he popped all but 3 balloons. After this, Lenny opened the shop and upgraded his clicker to have more pierce and a larger area of effect, making it easier for him to click the balloons. Round 4 started off basically the same as round 3, but this time there were way more blue balloons to deal with. After the first 2 loops, most of them were taken out, but there was one group of 5 barreling towards the exit. Lenny saw it and clicked them, but wasn't able to pop them all before the end. He was able to clean up the rest of the reds though, leaving us with 89 lives and enough money to get stronger clicks, which gives him more piercing damage. The next few rounds were pretty simple, as Lenny can now one-shot blues, and he was tracking them pretty well. He even clicked all the greens at the start of round 6 right away, making it very easy. So he was on a roll, and he kept this up in round 7 as he tracked the greens again no problem. Like we said earlier, he seems to do better against greens than up, which is funny because they're supposed to be more difficult. But after round 7, Lenny purchased rapid clicks, which lets him click 30% more often. This made it much less likely that he'd miss, as sometimes he'd snap to some balloons and move the mouse back before a click goes off. But that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, and he absolutely smoked the greens in round 8. It seems like he was hitting his stride, but round 9 had other plans. Some of the greens got pretty far, and a red balloon even got through. So Lenny got continuous clicks, upgrading his attack speed even more. This let him crush rounds 10 and 11, as the grouped blues and space greens were no match for his clicking abilities, and this let him buy freezing clicks, which you can probably guess what it does. With this new freezing attack, greens got even easier, and it was just in time for the yellows that come on round 12. With this, Lenny could click a yellow, freeze it, and click it again, completely taking it out. This crushed 12 and 13, and I thought we were in good hands, but round 14 is a bit tougher. 2 yellow balloons got through, bringing us down to 80 lives. Lenny really should have had the second one, but there's nothing we can do now. This gave him the money for powerful clicks though, which increases his damage and pierce and makes the clicker able to hit camo balloons. With this, round 15 didn't stand a chance, as Lenny was on top of clicking all the tough balloons, and he'd bring the pinks all the way down to frozen blues with one attack. Lenny's aim continued to be on point for the next couple rounds, even taking out the regrow yellows on 17 without issue. And this let him get enhanced clicks, which cuts the next attack cooldown in half if you don't hit a balloon, which is great for Lenny, as I just have him always attacking. The greens on 18 were just free money, even though one got pretty far, and for the most part, the pinks on yellows on 19 weren't too bad, but Lenny did miss a few times, causing us to lose 2 more lives. Luckily, the black balloons on round 20 were super easy as they travel slowly, and Lenny would bring them down to frozen greens with just one attack. This clearly shows that we do the best against medium speed balloons, no matter their health, as reds are too slow and pinks can be too fast. So to get around this, Lenny bought even larger clicks, which increased the area of each click. That should solve it, but there is a new problem though. This upgrade causes there to be a giant click animation whether we pop a balloon or not. It looks pretty funny, but it covers the track with each attack, and if Lenny is searching for balloons there, it causes a false positive. This is actually one of the reasons I didn't make Lenny stay in a spot until he's sure all the balloons are gone, because this plus his actual cursor could make for an infinite loop. This increased area let us deal with the spaced yellows and pinks of 21, and Lenny was even able to snipe 2 yellows in the bottom left of the map near the end of the round. Just a round ago, he probably would have only hit one of them. The next few rounds were a piece of cake, as they were full of balloons that Lenny did great against. White and black balloons, and we already have camo detection for round 24. This gave us over $1,000, but we'll need a little more for his next upgrade. So we took on round 25. I was nervous for the purples, as this will be Lenny's first time facing them, but he actually did really well, not letting a single balloon make it to the middle loop, and he did just fine against the zebras that come on round 26. I wasn't sure how he'd handle the yellows inside them, but that turned out to not be an issue at all. And with this money, Lenny got the biggest upgrade so far, explosive clicks. This gives him more damage, extra attack speed, and explosions, so leads won't be a problem. We let Lenny cook for a few rounds. The yellows weren't an issue on 27, the leads were free on 28 and 30, and round 29 didn't even get around the first loop. But now it's time for some fun upgrades. Lenny bought better freeze and slowing clicks, making our freezing effects much better. Speaking of the shop, if you do buy anything in-game, make sure to use creator code Hbomb to help out the channel. It really means a lot. These freezing upgrades will be nice for the ceramics coming later, but for now it helps out with any balloon that can survive a click, as the insides move permanently slower after. But the next several rounds were easy, as we popped most of the balloons in the small circle. Really, the only one that got pretty far was 36, with its large rushes of pinks, but even then, nothing really got close to leaking. Lenny was doing a very good job prioritizing the top right of the map. And this let us buy hypersonic clicks, which basically makes everything about our clicker better. And then we picked up intense ice, which gives us extra damage to frozen balloons. And with this, we were able to coast to round 40. During this time, I thought about manually pressing fast forward, but I wanted Lenny to beat this run all by himself, and I have him pressing that later anyway. For now though, he can handle the balloons in normal speed. Before we take on the Moab though, Lenny bought fire and ice, which gives his clicks a fire damage over time effect to everything he clicked. And with that, we took on the first boss of the run. It's started off good, but the Moab moved so slow that Lenny went to the top right pretty early as he was searching the rest of the map for balloons. Once Lenny did a whole lap around the map though, he went back to clicking on the pufferfish. He took out the outer layer by the end of the first loop and was able to pop all these ceramics inside before they thawed out. A strong showing, but I am afraid for when more than one Moab comes at a time. For now though, we needed money and lots of it. We blew through the early 40s as neither ceramics or camos cause us problems, and Lenny bought slow area, which leaves behind an Arctic wind aura on every click. We felt this utility instantly as the rainbows on 45 were moving so slow, but it did cause a problem. Now, we definitely get false positives on the track as this effect makes the track not match any of Lenny's screenshots, so his clicking might get a bit erratic. This slow let Lenny pop the rest of the 40s, and before round 50, he bought Dart Sprayer and Moab Freeze. The first shoots out darts when he clicks on a balloon, and the other lets us slow Moab. Two very nice upgrades going forward. This let us clear the waves of balloons and pop the Moab surprisingly fast. The only thing was Dart Sprayer lets us do way more damage to the balloons around the one we clicked compared to our primary target. So when we got down to the final Moab of the round, it still took Lenny a bit to pop it. The Moab Freeze was great though, as it basically brought them to a halt. Now, I'm pretty sure Lenny could have camped the very start of the track, but he insisted on staying in the top right to give him the best chance of winning. After round 54, Lenny bought Icicle Clicks, which drastically increases his Moab and ceramic damage. Really, the only things that might leak we just got way better against. Even round 55, with its ceramic rushes, was pretty easy as we just slowed them down and did massive group damage with Icicles and Dart Sprayer. And we kind of crushed the rest of the 50s. The BFB did scare me a bit though, as we don't do much single target damage. We didn't have enough money for any upgrades though, so Lenny started the round and even hit fast forward. What a mad lad. It took him quite some time to pop the BFB, but the insides were cleaned up pretty quick. The next couple rounds were jam-packed with balloons, but Lenny handled them no problem. Even round 63 went off without a hitch, as he'd popped the ceramics with just a couple clicks, and this gave him the money to buy Finger Dash, drastically increasing his attack speed. This crushed the rest of the 60s, with round 69 getting the farthest as some of the ceramics made it around the first and second loop while Lenny was distracted. This happened on round 70 as well, as a blue made it all the way to the final pass before getting popped, but after this, Lenny was able to coast. I mean, he even popped all of round 76 at the very start of the track. But this brings us to round 79, where Lenny made his final purchase, Sticky Clicks. This makes each click leave behind a dart on the track, and when balloons pass over it, several darts shoot out, making Lenny lethal even when he's clicking on nothing. This smoked the rainbows on 79, but the BFBs lived for a while. He still popped them before the first loop, but the fortified ones survived a ton of clicks before going down. But now, all that's left is the ZOMG. Lenny would find it from time to time, but it moved so slow that he kept getting ahead of it and losing where it was. So it wasn't until the ZOMG got to the top right of the map that Lenny started doing some real damage, and his Icicle Clicks made it move in slow-mo. And not much after that, Lenny popped it down to nothing, making my computer able to beat hard mode just by clicking.